The sun dipped low on the horizon, bleeding hues of crimson and gold into the sky as if the heavens themselves were ablaze. The small town of Raventon, nestled between rolling hills and dense woods, basked in the fleeting warmth of dusk. The narrow cobblestone streets glistened from an earlier rain, reflecting the fiery colors above. It was the kind of evening that felt suspended in time, where shadows stretched longer and hearts felt heavier. Lena stood at the edge of the old bridge overlooking the slow-moving river that snaked its way through the town. She had always loved sunsets, not because of their beauty, but because they signaled an end, an excuse to let go of the weight she carried. The wind teased loose strands of her chestnut hair, and she pulled her scarf tighter around her neck, the fabric holding faint traces of perfume she couldn't bring herself to wash out. The scarf had belonged to Ethan. It had been 2 years since he'd left. No explanations. No goodbyes. Just a note, 4 simple words scribbled hastily on a torn piece of paper. "I'm sorry. Forgive me." She had read those words so many times they were etched into her memory, yet they gave her nothing. No answers. No closure. The bridge had been their spot. A place where laughter once echoed, promises were whispered, and futures were imagined. Now, it was nothing more than a reminder of what was lost. But that evening, something was different. As Lena traced the curve of the horizon with her eyes, she saw a figure approaching from the other side of the bridge. Tall, familiar in the way memories often feel, hazy yet undeniable. Her heart stuttered, caught between recognition and disbelief. Ethan. Older. His hair slightly longer, his jawline more defined, but those eyes, those stormy gray eyes, were the same. He walked with hesitation, as if the weight of his past steps had finally caught up with him. Lena's breath hitched. She wanted to move, to walk away, but her feet remained rooted to the cold stone beneath her. When he was just a few steps away, he stopped, his gaze locking with hers. The space between them felt both vast and suffocating. "Lena," he breathed her name like it was both a prayer and an apology. She didn't respond. Words felt like fragile glass, too delicate to hold without shattering. Ethan cleared his throat, stuffing his hands into the pockets of his worn jacket. "I didn't expect to see you here." She finally found her voice, brittle and sharp. "It's not your bridge to expect anything." A flicker of pain crossed his face, but he nodded. "You're right." Silence stretched between them, heavy with all the things left unsaid. "I thought you were gone for good," she added, her voice softer this time, tinged with something she couldn't name. Resentment? Curiosity? Hope? Ethan exhaled slowly, his breath misting in the cooling air. "I was. But some things you can't outrun." Lena swallowed the lump rising in her throat. She wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but all she managed was, "Why?" He took a tentative step closer. "I was scared." "Of me?" she whispered. "Of us." Her heart clenched. "That's not an answer." Ethan looked down, his shoulders sagging under invisible burdens. "I didn't know how to be the person you deserved." Lena's fingers tightened around the railing, knuckles white. "And disappearing without a word was better?" "No," he admitted. "It was cowardly." The raw honesty in his voice chipped away at the wall she'd built around her heart. "But it wasn't enough, not yet." "I waited," she confessed quietly, the words slipping out before she could stop them. "I thought maybe you'd call." "Right. Something." Regret flickered in his eyes. "I thought staying away would make it easier for you to forget." She let out a bitter laugh. "You were wrong." The sky darkened, the last remnants of sunlight swallowed by night. They stood there, 2 ghosts haunted by memories, shadows of who they used to be. After a long silence, Ethan spoke again, his voice barely audible. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed to see you, to know you're okay." Lena didn't know if she was okay. She'd told herself she was for so long that the truth had become murky. But seeing him, here, real, flawed, felt like reopening an old wound she thought had healed. Without another word, she turned and walked away, leaving Ethan standing alone on the bridge beneath the crimson sky. The echo of her footsteps faded into the night, but Ethan remained on the bridge, staring at the empty space where Lena had just stood. The weight of his mistakes pressed down on him, heavier than the chill in the autumn air. His fingers instinctively brushed over the small, crumpled note tucked inside his jacket pocket, the same one he'd left her 2 years ago. For words that were supposed to be enough, "I'm sorry. Forgive me." But they never were. Lena's figure disappeared into the shadows, swallowed by the narrow streets of Raventon. Her heart raced, not from the brisk walk, but from the storm Ethan's return had stirred inside her. She hated how familiar he still felt, how the sound of his voice could unearth memories she'd buried under layers of denial. Back at her small apartment overlooking the town square, she kicked off her boots and collapsed onto the worn couch, the city's faint lights flickering through her window like distant stars. She stared at the ceiling, replaying their brief conversation over and over, analyzing every word, every pause. Why now? Why come back after all this time? The following days passed like fragments of time, disjointed and restless. Lena tried to distract herself with work at the local gallery, curating art pieces and pretending to care about conversations she couldn't follow. But Ethan's face haunted her thoughts, like a song stuck on repeat. One evening, as the crimson sky bled into darkness once again, she found herself walking the same path back to the bridge. She told herself it was coincidence, that she just needed fresh air, but deep down, she knew better. And there he was. Ethan stood in the same spot, leaning against the railing, hands tucked into his jacket pockets, staring out at the water as if it held answers he'd never found. This time, he noticed her approach immediately, his eyes meeting hers with quiet hesitation. "You're persistent," Lena muttered, stopping a few feet away. Ethan offered a faint, tired smile. "Or maybe I just know where to find you." She didn't reply, instead leaning against the opposite side of the bridge, the cool metal grounding her. They stood in silence for a while, the only sounds being the soft ripple of the river below and the distant hum of the town settling into the night. "I thought about leaving," Ethan admitted quietly, his gaze fixed on the water. "After the other night. Thought maybe I'd already done enough damage." "Why didn't you?" He finally looked at her, his eyes filled with something raw and unguarded. "Because I realized I wasn't just running from you back then. I was running from myself." Lena swallowed hard, her chest tightening. "And did running help?" Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, it just made me realize how much I lost." His words hung between them, fragile and heavy. Lena glanced down at the scar on her wrist, a faint reminder of the accident she'd had the winter after he left. She'd never told anyone how dark that time had been, how loneliness could feel like drowning without water. But she'd survived. She'd rebuilt. She wasn't sure if she was ready to let him back into the life she'd painstakingly stitched back together. "I don't know what you expect from me," she whispered, her voice trembling despite her best effort to keep it steady. "Nothing," Ethan replied softly. "I don't expect anything. I missed you." Those words broke something inside her. Not out of anger this time, but grief for what they had, for what they lost. Lena turned to face him fully, her eyes glossy but fierce. "You don't get to just show up and say that like it's supposed to fix everything." "I know," he said. "I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I'm still here because I hoped maybe you missed me too." Silence stretched again, but this time it was softer, filled with shared history and fragile hope. Finally, Lena sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I don't know what I feel anymore." Ethan stepped closer, cautiously, leaving space between them as if afraid to cross a line. "Then let me prove it. Not with words. Just give me time. Let me show you I've changed." She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She just nodded slightly, her heart pounding, unsure if it was out of fear or something else entirely. Over the next few weeks, Ethan stayed in town. He found a small room above the old cafe near the harbor, working odd jobs to make ends meet. But he wasn't there for the town. He was there for Lena. They met often, sometimes by chance, sometimes not. Walks along the river, quiet talks under the fading sky, coffee shared in awkward silence that slowly grew less awkward. Ethan never pushed. He never asked for more than she was willing to give. And maybe that's what made Lena's heart soften. One evening, after they'd spent hours sitting in the park, watching the leaves fall like memories from the trees, Lena finally asked the question she'd been avoiding. "Why did you leave?" Ethan took a deep breath, his jaw tightening. "Because I was afraid of being enough. Afraid that I'd ruin the only good thing I'd ever had." She stared at him, processing his words. "And what makes you think you won't ruin it now?" "Because I've already ruined it once. And I survived the regret. I'm not afraid of failing anymore. I'm afraid of never trying." Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer honesty of his confession. She reached out, her fingers brushing against his, a silent truce. Maybe forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the pain. Maybe it was about accepting that people break things, and sometimes they can fix them too. Months passed, and Raven unbloomed under the glow of winter lights. Lena and Ethan found a fragile rhythm, not defined by the past, but shaped by it. They laughed more, shared dreams, and slowly stitched a new story over the torn pages of the old one. One snowy evening, standing once again on their bridge beneath the crimson sky, Ethan pulled a small, crumpled note from his jacket pocket, the same one from years ago. "I kept this," he whispered, unfolding it. "But it was never enough." He handed it to her. Lena read the faded words, "I'm sorry. Forgive me." Then she smiled softly, folded the note, and tucked it back into his pocket. "You don't need that anymore," she said. And she kissed him, not to forget the past, but to honor it. Because some stories aren't about perfect endings. They're about second chances beneath the same crimson sky.